You're a scriptwriter and you have connections to the Philippine movie and TV industry. Why don't you come out with better movies and TV shows with better stories? You always talk about the low quality of our movies and TV shows. But you're a scriptwriter with existing connections. Why don't you just do something about it and stop trashing our own movies and our own TV shows? So this was sent by one of you. And before I make some clarifications and before I answer your question, I just want to make some, I just want to make some clarifications. Number one, I do love our movie and TV industry. I've made them and I will try and continue making them for as long as I can. However, as a personal preference, for me to consider a great film, it has to break the formula. Okay? A formula is the standard practices or tactics that many TV shows or movies are using in order to appeal to the general public. So some of that would be like the great confrontation, like in many family drama or in many romantic films, there's always that part where someone is going to try to run after somebody, or everyone just is going to have one big fight and they will express how they hate each other, or reveal a huge secret that is going to change how she's perceived, or put a twist in the story or whatever. So another would be the time lapse. So this is very common in many romantic movies. Usually there's a build up to the story, so the start of the conflict, and then there's the huge time gap, and then when everything returns, everything is resolved. Like, okay, so what happened? You're just about to start the conflict, and then it ends. However, there are movies that have actually followed and used some of these tactics, some of this formula but it worked. For example, Never Not Love You, I think is one. It did have a time lapse, but I think it worked. The Mistress is a great movie for me. There's just one element that I don't like, but I would still consider it a great movie, and there is that huge confrontation in that movie. But the point being, when I call a great movie great, or when I call a movie great, or I call it a bad movie, or a good one but not great, or whatever, it's a personal preference. In no way am I implying that this is the ultimate list or the ultimate way of judging whether a movie is great or not. It's just my personal preference, and I'm entitled to it the same way you are. You can say what you like and what you don't like, and you're entitled to that. Okay, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I will now answer the question. Well, first, another clarification. So first, actual clarification. I don't often trash our movies and our TV shows. I do reviews the same way other people do reviews, and I have criticized some or many of them, but it's always coming from a constructive place and not a destructive place. Second is that I disagree with you that all of our movies and TV shows are trashy. I actually think that we have some of the best ones ever. Like many of our movies, if somebody is to objectively create a list of 100 greatest movies of all time globally, that many of our movies will actually make it there. So, of course, we have the classics. We have Batch 81, Tinimbang Ka Ngunit Kulang, Madrasta, Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos, or Tatlong Taong Walang Diyos, Manila by Night, many more. So these are the classics, and then for the most recent ones, as I've said, the Never Not Love You is a great one, The Mistress is a great one. So the real problem is that not about creating great movies, but I think we're highly limited for the contemporary ones. We're highly limited to one or two genres. That would be drama or romantic drama in particular. I think if it's the struggle of being able to create other quality movies that are of a different genre. So I'm not saying that once you create a movie, actually, let me rephrase that. I know that many of you are going to say like, oh, how about Jose Rizal? Jose Rizal does not fall under romance, or it's not necessarily drama, but it actually did very well in the box office. And I will not argue that it did well in the box office, except if you actually drill down the cost of the movie, the numbers of the movie. So it made, as far as I know, 125 million in the box office, but it cost 82 million, I think, to make them. That seems like a revenue, right? Like a clean 40 plus million revenue. However, you actually need to make 3 times the cost of your actual production cost to in order for you to make money. So going double or triple is actually just breaking even. But if you really want to make money, you have to do 3 times more than your production budget. So at 125 million with 82 million production cost, that's actually a loss for Jose Rizal. There's Magnifico, another great movie, and that I think it needed to, well, the production cost is 20 million, so it actually took them 20 million to make the film. But how much does it really? But how much did it do in terms of box office? So I think it barely did 30 million. On the Job, I think, is another great movie. The budget was actually 47 million, so that's how much it cost them to make the movie. But the return was 13.4 million. That's a loss. That movie is a loss. By Bust, it's not even a great movie for me, but at least it was under a different genre. It's not romance and it's not drama. The budget was 86 million and they earned 97 million. That movie lost. So where is it coming? So why is it that they need to either make double the production cost or triple to break even? Taxes, promotional costs, distribution costs, all of that are actually not figured in the production cost. The production cost is just the production cost. Okay, so there are a lot of movies that make money, like, for example, Barcelona, The Untold Story made a lot of money, but I wouldn't consider it to be a great movie. And also, it does not deviate from the two most common genres that we do. So when we write something or we propose something, for creators, especially for writers, we don't run out of crazy. We don't run out of ideas. We run out of patience, of money, of time, but we don't run out of ideas. You can probably open our brains and there'd be like an overflow of ideas. But the problem is that whenever we pitch something different and will deviate from the usual consumption or the usual plots or stories that we have, we're the most common response is that that's not going to make money. And the truth is that that's what it boils down to, ROI, the return in investments. Producers are not, they're not philanthropists, they're not educators, they're not heroes, they're actually businessmen. So for them to keep on doing movies, keep on creating movies, they actually need to make their money back. And so we're always told that that's not something that the Filipinos would like, that's not going to make money. You need to put a commercial spin on it if you really are passionate about the story. Some of the most common things that they tell us is that the Filipino audience is not receptive to things that they're not familiar with. So for example, if we propose a story about a serial killer, it's not a common concept for us. Most of the time, serial killers in the Philippines would be tagged. They would think that the serial killer is actually possessed by the devil or something like that. But we don't have serial killers in the Philippines. Forensics or forensic psychology, because that's not something that our police force actually is capable of doing, or if we're capable of it, it's very weak, quote unquote, at least at the time that I was still in the Philippines. Filipinos don't rarely perceive policemen as heroes because, before I left the Philippines, they're still known to have big bellies and stuff like that. I understand that's being changed right now. Anything that would make them think. So anything that would make the Filipino audience think that we were told that Filipinos, once they get into the cinema and pay for their tickets, they want to be entertained. They don't want to think anymore, because that's what they do all day when they work. They think. They don't want, when they pay for entertainment, they just want to be entertained. So they keep on telling us, don't like do a lot of plots that will require them to think. So when you want to do like a whodunit film, like when you're trying to solve like who's the killer or something like that, it has to be packaged in an entertaining way, so that they're not really thinking who the killer is. They're just watching this chaos unfold. Okay, I don't know if that made sense. I hope it did. So this mean that the audience is at fault? Absolutely not. Everyone contributes to whatever it is that we're experiencing right now. The producers, content creators, artists, the government, and of course the audience. The government, I think, has to do a lot in order to elevate the educational system, for the younger students to be more familiar to much more concepts. Forensic psychology, for example, psychology for that matter, these are strange concepts to many Filipinos, because we don't, going to a shrink is not a familiar concept for us, because we don't do that. It's not a part of our culture. Forensic psychology, because we don't have a lot of budget in order to pour our money into to forensic psychology, or forensics for that matter. That's why many crimes go unsolved. So if, however, at least our education system can elevate that, can actually put that in the educational program in the Philippines, then it would be a familiar concept to many of our students. Another thing would be, so I actually taught for several semesters in the Philippines in a college, in a university. And this is actually like an expensive university. But I kid you not, class after class after class, at least 95% of the students would not have read the book, The Little Prince. And it's like, isn't that like a standard must read for everybody, for every soul in this world? That's like a must read. And it takes you like 2 hours to read that, to complete that book. No limitaje rin el filibusterismo. Most of the time, many students just try to breeze through these two novels, but these two novels are two of the greatest novels ever written in the history of the world. So again, if I think there's somebody who's going to create like a list of 100 greatest books ever written and do it objectively, globally, No Limitaje rin el filibusterismo would have made it. But there, many students or many teachers actually just breeze through it. They fail to actually emphasize and examine the subcontext, the dimensions of the story, critically analyze the characters, the intention of the author, the intention of every scene, that it goes wasted. So I think if there is some effort to try and change how we study literature, introduce new concepts, I think it will also help in the types of art, the types of movies and TV shows that we actually support. Next, of course, the producers, creators, and artists. I understand for everybody, creators, artists, and producers, they need to pay their bills. So, and this is the craft that they do. So, of course, they need to get paid to do movies and to do TV shows. But I hope just out of the goodness of their own heart, I hope that they would make it a point to do passion projects every now and then, where they will just do it for free, just for no other reason but to elevate the quality of our movies and our TV shows. There's a lot of actresses and actors that are doing that already, but I hope it becomes more of a common practice. Next is for the audience. I hope that you give less support to TV shows and to movies that are bad, and give more support to movies and TV shows that are of higher quality. So, or at the very least, leave some budget for movies and TV shows that are of higher quality, just so we could all help each other in elevating the quality of our movie and TV industry. So, in the meantime, and the other thing is that it's unfortunate that most of the time it takes foreign intervention for our audience to sort of do a sharp turn and change their taste in the kind of movies and TV shows that they consume, to be more concrete about it, let's take, for example, our soap operas. I don't know if you know of the soap opera Mara Clara. And for like years and years, they were running the same plot point, and that was the diary. There was a missing diary. I actually had an aunt who was living in the UK and would come home like every 2 years to go on a vacation, and she would catch up on Mara Clara, and she would realize that she did not miss anything at all. Like, oh, it's the same plot point. They're still looking for that diary, and it ended up in like under the couch or something. I guess they weren't cleaning the couch. So there, but then something well, Talia happened actually. So the Latino, the Mexican telenovela invaded the Philippines, and then we realized, oh, having like a fast-paced story actually works. They like it. Everybody's consuming it, and also make it a little bit ridiculous because she was talking to a dog. So that changed the course of many of our TV shows. Suddenly, our TV dramas actually became shorter. So instead of running for like years and years and years, we were just doing 21 episodes, which is actually one season. So now it's the Koreans that are actually invading the Philippine airwaves. So TV shows and movies and even music. So it is what it is. So the only hope that I have is that we will take whatever it is that we have right now, that is in our cinemas and our TVs, and would evolve it to become ours. So on our side, the content creators, we're trying. But I think I've mentioned this before. I also work a full-time job, and of course I'm supporting my family, and I do like being able to give them a comfortable life. So I can't just pour all of the energy that I have in trying to progress Philippine movies and Philippine TV shows in the US, but I am trying. In the meantime, I hope that us as an audience, we can all work together and try to support Philippine contents in as much as we can. So if we can pay for streaming so that we can continuously watch Philippine contents on different OTT or streaming services, if we can, and there are free ways of supporting artists as well. We can follow them on their Instagram and other social media. We can retweet them, recommend their content, comment about their content. We can support other content creators that are supporting Filipino artists and Filipino arts. All of these things will help. We can recommend, as I've said, our contents to other nations or friends from other countries. So those are the free ways we can support Philippine arts and Philippine artists. But we're in for a battle. This is going to be a long battle, and I don't think I will see like the ideal place that we want to be in my lifetime. But that's not going to stop me from trying to help. And I do love, because I love it as well. I love Philippine movies. I love movies. I love literature. I love TV. So it's not like this is something I'm taking on just cause. I enjoy doing it. And I hope that we can all work together to support it as well. I hope I answered your question. I know that you were a little snarky in your email to me. I actually had to edit what you said because, as I've said, you're a little snarky. But you did point out a valid question. That's why I'm giving you a valid answer. But I hope the next time you'll be a little nicer. And on that note, thank you very much. And see you in the next episode.